Hello, welcome to the Ahsoka Review Director's Cut. I thought about calling this Dan's version as in reference to Taylor Swift, but then I thought, well, Taylor Swift might not be relevant in 10 years, so that might not make sense. So let's just call it the Director's Cut. So welcome to the Director's Cut of my Ahsoka review. I'm very excited to present this to you. I've been working on this for months. I kind of figured that I wouldn't have enough time back in October to do this. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to, sort of section up this review, and then later, I thought this was going to be on Star Wars Day. Turns out it was not on Star Wars Day, but later I will just put these together and then make a director's cut and just have a little intro explaining why this is now coming out again, because it's director's cut, baby. You love them. Zack Snyder most certainly loves them, and I have a fondness for them too, and I'm happy that I made one. So comment below, let me know what you thought of the show. Of course, I'm about to review it, but remember that God made you special. He loves you very much. I hope you enjoy this video. As always, God bless, and may the Force be with you. Now, let's take it from the top. Let's talk about Ahsoka. Spoilers, Part 1, The Good. So, Ahsoka is, of course, about Ahsoka, Sabine, and Hera have to figure out a way to stop the Imperial Grand Admiral Thrawn from returning after a long exile and possibly find the hopefully alive Ezra Bridger. This is a sequel series to Rebels and is long awaited and long anticipated. And I'm happy to say that it's pretty good. I don't think it's as good as Rebels, but I think it's good enough, and I think it will most certainly please Star Wars Rebel fans and maybe even Mandalorian fans, since this is also a spin-off of that show. Something I do truly love about this show is the first half. I think the first half does a really good job with, I think, delivering a story that makes you think, oh yeah, this is, entertaining, this is interesting, and it most certainly builds intrigue with the characters that it has. It does, unfortunately, falter just a bit in its second half, but I think the first half is pretty good. And yeah, I honestly quite like this show. I think everyone is casted pretty well. Morgan Elsbeth, we'll get to her in the next part, but she perhaps maybe leaves a little to be desired. But yeah, I think the acting is pretty good in the show. And yeah, another thing that I love is, I think the finale, like I said, spoilers, but I won't spoil too much about the finale. But I think the finale wraps things up pretty good and most certainly leaves intrigue to the viewer as we wonder what will happen next. Episode 7 is quite good, and I think the guy who plays Ezra is actually pretty fantastic. I'm not the biggest fan of Ezra. I think his character arc is quite neat, but I do think that Tyler Gray is most certainly the one thing holding Ezra back from being truly exceptional. But I think that this new actor does an extremely good job playing Ezra, making him likable and making him honestly feel quite relatable at times. He feels like he leapt right out of animation into the real world, and it's great. And I like the visuals of this show. I think it looks quite good, and there's just a lot, I think, to admire about this show. Of course, Hayden Christensen's return as Anakin, episode 5, I think, is pretty good. It's a little muddled in its message and its theme, especially since it seems like Ahsoka kind of went on this arc during season 2 of Rebels, and maybe even concluded that arc in her only episode of season 4. But I guess character retread isn't anything new in terms of Star Wars, going from one medium to the other. So it's not super forgivable, but I can let it pass considering the story that Dave was trying to tell. It was nice to see some returning characters, of course, from the other shows in here. And yeah, I also did enjoy the music quite a bit. Kevin Kline did a good job, and I think everything rounds out to be a pretty solid show. My ranking, most certainly, I would recommend this show, of course, and of course in the next part we will get into some of the negative aspects. So, of course, see you in a few hours. But like I said, a ranking of this show would probably, I'd put it in the middle of these Star Wars shows, and most certainly give it a 2.5 out of 4. See you next time. Let's talk about Ahsoka Part 2, The Bad. So, I do truly like this show, and do not get me wrong. There are, I think, very few negatives with this show, but one of them is that Morgan Elsbeth, I think, is a little wooden. I think they could have done a better job with her, making her a bit more fleshed out and interesting, especially when Ray Stevenson's character is rather interesting, and of course, Shin is, I think, interesting by comparison to Ray Stevenson's character. Both of them have an interesting relationship that provides us with a bit of insight to where, I think his name is Bolin, is like not, yes, he's a Jedi who lost his way, who gave up the order, but he still, did an apprentice who, upholds some sort of Jedi value system, even if they are doing what could be perceived as evil things. And it's interesting, and I kind of wish that Morgan kind of elicited that sort of interesting thought as well. But, I guess she is just one of the main villains of this show, and the two mercenary Jedi characters are able to flesh out the Rogues Gallery just a bit more. And I think my biggest problem, let's get into it, is unfortunately Sabine. I tried my best to appreciate what they were doing with Sabine. It's a new actress. This show should, in theory, have it should have the same, I think, elevation of storytelling as some of the greatest episodes of Rebels did. And maybe, just maybe, they could elevate Sabine in the same way that they elevated Ezra, where you write the character just a bit better, and then through writing the character better, we're allowed to, and through having a better actor at the helm, we're able to see the character in a new light. Now, I actually think that the actress who played Sabine in Rebels did a good job. One of my favorite episodes of Rebels is not only Trials of Darksaber, but also Legacy of Mandalore, where that actress was given room to grow and to actually have a dynamic range of emotions. And Sabine just never has that in this show. Sure, she does have at some point, there's this whole thing at the beginning of the show where she isn't wearing her armor, and we get an allusion to, spoilers by the way, we get an allusion to the reason why she doesn't have her armor on anymore at the beginning of the show, towards the end, in the finale, that apparently, I guess, the Night of 1,000 Tears, which is referenced in The Mandalorian, kind of broke her, so she lost faith in the Mandalorian religion. But there's never that moment where she regains faith in it. And I don't know, maybe Dave is waiting for a sequel to do that. But honestly, I'd rather us see her go through that in this show, especially since this is supposed to be a sequel to Rebels, and she is one of the main characters of Rebels. And I don't know. Maybe I ask too much of this show. Perhaps. Who knows? And then, yeah. Also, her completely forgetting her helmet in like the 4th episode of the show, and then going around the 6th episode where people are shooting at her, but they don't shoot her in her head. I was like, shoot her in the head. You're close enough that you could hit her, that you could reasonably enough hit her. Like, what the hell? I found Sabine very frustrating. And I guess finally, before we wrap it all up, I'll just ask. Well, obviously Thrawn's his stormtroopers are now zombies because, of course, they'd be. Ezra, I imagine, possibly by just pure coincidence, kind of killed all of them because of the events of the Rebels finale. But I was just like, why does he have so many? Are they zombies? Are they what the hell? Turns out they are zombies, and it'll be very interesting to see how they resolve this in the next movie or in the next season of Ahsoka, whatever the sequel to Ahsoka may be. And yeah, it was very interesting. Tune in a few hours when I do the final part of this review, and remember that God made you special. God bless. Let's talk about Ahsoka Part 3, the verdict, or conclusion, spoilers. So, welcome. Fortunately, I do like this show. I stand by my rating of a 2.5 out of 4, and since you've waited so patiently, I will quickly touch on the finale. I liked the finale. I thought it was a fun watch. While some of my greater issues of the series do most certainly apply to the finale, I enjoyed seeing Ezra build his lightsaber. I liked how the final battle did feel rather epic in scale. Was it the most grandest finale ever? No, but I think it is leading somewhere, whether that be a movie or or another season of this show. Who knows? But I did most certainly find it an enjoyable watch. Ultimately, I think this show maybe would have been served better if it was an animated show, you know, maybe have some better action sequences and stuff like that. And plus, it'd be fun to see the Rebels sort of art style back again, because that is a rather gorgeous show. Unfortunately, it's not as gorgeous as the Clone Wars, but it was a nice looking show, and I do think that having a staff of writers and maybe even allowing other writers to take the helm every once in a while actually would have helped Dave Filoni and sort of the sameness of this show. But yeah, I guess not super important. Although the writing could have been a bit better, and Dave Filoni might want to have a co-writer for that movie that he's doing, or a season 2 of the show. But yeah, I think Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I think, did a good job as Hera. Hera, as you know, is my favorite, or longtime viewers will know that Hera is my favorite Rebels character, so it was nice to see her. And yeah, like I said, I like this show. I think hopefully next time we see Sabine, hopefully she can be fixed through some better writing and maybe just some other things. I hope the issues with this show do get addressed and do get fixed, which is, I think, what anyone wants for a show. And I'm very interested to see where this show will go, of course. Yeah, it was an enjoyable show. I would love to hear your thoughts. My favorite episode, I think it's kind of, I don't know, I think maybe seven or 5 are like my favorite episodes of the show. And yeah, I think I'd probably put this somewhere in the middle of all the Star Wars shows. You know, um, sort of like my feelings on Far From Home. You know, that's like a middle of the road Spider-Man movie. I feel like this is a middle of the road Star Wars show, and I'd be very curious to see what y'all thought. Of course, comment down below. See you next week when I do a bit more just cleaning up some stuff before we get all spooky. So remember that God made you special. He loves you very much. I hope you enjoyed your Friday. And as always, God bless y'all and may the force be with you.